So I'm going to say good afternoon and good morning as we're phoning across the miles. I'm in UK where it's 2:30 in the afternoon, and it's 8:30 for you in Jamaica. Is that right?
It is. Good morning to you. Good afternoon, Sir Donald and Ricka. Please keep your eyes on the road.
I am. I'm actually going to pull over because I want to be fully engaged.
Oh, that's marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. So I'm going to say welcome to the Forgotten Generations, and I am the one that's totally pleased to have you both on board for different reasons, right? So we're going to go ahead and going to say to Effiom, should we do first name terms today?
Of course.
Yes, that's great. I'm going to start with you, sir, and then go on to Ricka. Just, people don't know who we are, so we're just going to say a bit like about birthplace and towns and all that, and then we move on from there.
Okay. Well, I was born under the proverbial clock in Kingston back in 1949.
Oh.
The parents, Marjorie and Eustace Whyte. My parents were Garveites. I had a sister. We both grew up. She's 2 years older than I am. And Daddy had 3 adult children. In fact, it's interesting that my older brother, who is now passed, they've all passed, but he was a part of the Windrush generation. He came to England, I think, back in 1954. I only met him. For the first time. I met him when I came to Sandhurst back in 1967.
Oh,
so we grew up just on the eastern edge of the inner city in Kingston, Sliping Road, and we went to Central Branch Primary School, and I wanted to be a dentist. I don't know why. I'll tell that story later on.
Okay.
It didn't work out to be that as it was. Then I got a common entrance, as it was known as, and I went to Wilmer's Boys School in 1961.
That's great. Can I just park you there and then
Sure.
ask the same question to Ricka, because we'll then develop further from there. Ricka, over to you.
So I was born in the illustrious parish of St. Thomas. I am just a mere 27 years old, very, very young. I have 3 siblings, my sister and 2 brothers. I decided that from a tender age, I wanted to go to the Queen's School because I thought only Queens went there. And I did my GSAT and I passed, and it was like the most wonderful thing until I remember, and I saw everyone else my mommy came home and she had that great tunic saying that this is what you'll wear. I'm like, Mommy, there's no tiara, there's no crown. It's the Queen's School after all. And
that's
from
funny.
there, yes.
Sorry, butting in. Did you say this Queen's School? Is that what you said?
Yes, the Queen's School.
Because
the Queen's.
That's like news to me. And can you explain a little bit? Is this just an ordinary school or what? What is it called?
It's a school for girls. It was named after Queen Elizabeth II, her visit here in Jamaica. So it was in her honor that we had a school named after her for all girls. So it's located in Constant Spring, and it's that illustrious school that you'd want to go for polishing young ladies. And I don't know, it's just a passion ever since I was young just to go there.
All right,
and I did after which.
Thank you very much for that, because this will be covering across the world. So we need to have those kind of information for people to understand what you're talking about. Queen's School, that's very interesting. And may I say, St. Thomas is where I was born.
Really?
Yes. Okay, so we'll come on to that later.
Okay.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Superb. So Effiom, you were talking about schooling, and so what schooling was that for you?
Yeah, Wilmer's Boys School, the Wilmer's, the oldest school in the Caribbean, actually.
Oh.
And we had those, we were so part of the generation which were going into a school which was really founded by John Wilmer, an Englishman.
Okay.
And likes of me were, getting into Wilmer's, which was basically reserved, well, not reserved, but a lot of Jamaican whites went to Wilmer's.
Oh, right.
Whyte with an I, as opposed
Absolutely.
to Effiom Whyte with a Y. So it was really an interesting time. And I loved debating. I would debate. My father, he taught us to do a lot of research. So we'd go to the Institute of Jamaica, he'd take us there, he'd take us to the to the library service. We'd ask him a question, he would give us half the answer, and then we'd have to go and research to find the rest of the answer. And as a result of that, I developed this need or this interest in debating things. And one day I said, I think maybe in debating, I want to be an attorney. But then, you're growing up and you hear about lawyers being liars, and you're not quite sure if this is a good idea. And then one day, some cadets were out on the field marching up and down at Wilmer's. So I went to my parents, I'd love to join the cadets. They seem to be disciplined, etc., etc. And my father said, well, remember I told you stand for something, lest you fall for anything. So as long as you keep your schoolwork together, you can maybe go join.
And what age were you then?
I'm sorry?
What age were you at that time?
Oh, that was I must have been about maybe 14, 15.
Okay.
Right? So went to join, and that Tuesday afternoon, Tuesdays and Thursdays have been very significant in my life, and this was a Tuesday afternoon, and they said, well, you could join, you could either be in the infantry section of the Army cadets, or you could be in the air section. So I said, so what's this air section? And they said, well, you maybe could learn to fly. So I said, fly? I mean, I'd never even given that thought at 15, fly a plane. So I said, okay. So I glibly said, okay, I'll join the air section. So all the recruits who agreed to join the air section were given an exam, a paper to take home to study. It was air law, rules of the air. And we'd be given this test the following Tuesday. If you were successful, you'd stay in the air section of the cadets, or if you were not, you'd go to the infantry section, or you could find some other extracurricular activity. Well, I came first in the test.
Wow.
And my reward, again, listening to my father, it is meritocracy, not friend and company. And you know what was my reward for coming first? A pilot came to the school, took me to the Palisades Airport, took me up in the Cessna 150 for a half-an-hour familiarization flight. Oh. This was my prize or my reward for coming first in the exam.
Oh my God.
And then when we flew over, the city, the corporate area, he then showed me Wilmer's. And I said, where? So he turned the airplane and pointed, and I was, wow, this is the first time I was in a plane, and I saw the boys run up and down the field. I got so excited. So I said to him, so tell me, you can get paid to do this? And he said, yes. So before we landed, dentistry had gone out of my head from I left primary school. There was no more thought of being an attorney. And before we landed, I said, I want to do aviation. And that's what happened to me. I learned to fly at Wilmer's Boys School, got my pilot's license before I even had the driver's license. My parents didn't have a car. And
wow. That's amazing. So you actually acquired your pilot's license at what age?
I'm sorry?
What age were you when you acquired your pilot's license?
Oh, well, you had to be 17. So I got my pilot's license at 17.
Wow.
And the private pilot's license. And then I worked out the strategy that I wanted to continue aviation. My parents didn't have any money. I got a scholarship to learn to fly. I didn't know what it cost. And then I said, I'd like to maybe continue my aviation career. I now was in lower 6 at school. getting ready to do A levels, I just was not interested in anything again except aviation. Went to the civil aviation department, asked if I could get a scholarship, just like how I got a scholarship to learn to fly as a private pilot. And they said, no, but you're a cadet and you've done very well. Why don't you consider maybe applying to join the Jamaica Defense Force?
And I guess you weren't thinking about the military or anything at that time either?
Well, because I was in the cadet,
oh yes, right.
I knew now that there was an opportunity. There was a Jamaica Defense Force Air Wing, and I saw this as a possibility when the Civil Aviation Department said they could not give me a scholarship. Oh, so right. I started to focus now on maybe going to the JDF because I remember him saying, look, they'll pay you to learn to fly. So I said, really? So I applied, made all my applications, put them on my bed, my mattress. I couldn't tell my father this is what I really wanted to do or anything at this stage, because the first thing I did, I took them, my mother and my father, on the Joyous bus to the airport. I got my license on the 12th of December, 1966. And I think I took them there before Christmas, and I took them one at a time, half an hour flight for each of them. And then when we got back, secured the airplane, and then I was on the way back in the bus to Kingston, I said to my father, Daddy, what you thought of that? He said, wow, wonderful, I'm proud of you. So I said, well, that's what I want to do. He said, you got to be crazy.
Is that what he said?
Yes. He said, you got to be crazy. So I said, Daddy, why? He said, well, all these days I'll tell you. But I then now became more enthused. Daddy said, no, that's not. So one day, my father arrived at Wilmer's, because now it was not like a horse fit to be tied, but I was so enthusiastic. Now I was falling back on some of my, school work.
Right.
I was just involved with this flying thing. My father came to the school and asked the headmaster, Mr. Bogle, to see if he could speak some sense into my head. I want to leave school. And to my surprise, Mr. Bogle, in my presence, he said, Mr. Bogle said, Mr. Whyte, excuse me, you let him go. If he's accepted by the JDF, he will come back to some academics. But if he's accepted, let him go. And my father, surprisingly, but reluctantly, agreed.
Wow.
Well, in those days, whatever the pastor said, whatever the teacher said, whatever the doctor said, that was gospel.
Wow.
So I went home, took my application from under my bed and submitted to the JDF.
Wow. Can we park there? That was just fantastic. And I can see Ricka smiling to this. And so am I. Fantastic. So Ricka, over to you for a little bit of story about your development from school then to where you are now.
Well, for me, it was, I guess having a mentor that initial vision wanted to be a lawyer. It's obviously that we have connected in some way, because initially I wanted to be a lawyer as well.
Okay.
However, being at the Queen's School, I met this wonderful lady, Mrs. Wilson. She was my geography teacher, and she was like, the field of law is becoming saturated. It's becoming so overwhelmed with persons. Maybe you should try something else that you're good at. And I was very, very good at geography. I was so in tune with nature from a very tender age. Even in primary school, I would have been a representative for Jamaica and UNESCO, traveling to conferences all over the Caribbean.
Wow.
Just that alone prompted me to say, all right, then let me think about going into this field. So going through high school, it would have been something that I would pursued in CAPE and CSEC. It would be natural sciences. Then she's like, you don't have to be a geologist like everybody. You can become an urban and regional planner. I'm like, what is an urban and regional planner? I don't know what that is. She said, well, look at the website at UTech, see if you'd like it. I looked, it was different. And she's like, it's a small group of persons that does it, like maybe 20 persons a year would have left UTech with that degree. The field is open and it's broad and it's dynamic. You should do it. So I said, fine. I went ahead and I applied, and then here comes the challenge. You're from a humble background and you can't afford university. It's either student loan or you go on to work, and for a couple of years and then decide to, it's not going to work. I need to go to school and I want to go to school now. So I've been spoken to my grandma. She's like, there's this scholarship that is offered by the Governor General. Let's look about it. When I looked, it was a Saturday that I saw it. However, the deadline was a Sunday. And I was like, I live in St. Thomas. I'm not going to get to Kingston to submit all these documents because I'd have to go to the printery to get it printed. And on Sunday, these places aren't open. So when I called the Governor General's office and I spoke to Miss Quantessa, she was like, well, we're not sure. So it's advised to call Major Whyte, Effiom. I don't know what would have happened because at that time he was the national coordinator there. And I was like, sorry, did I get that right? You're the coordinator, right? I think so. Hopefully, Major, I got that right, that you're the coordinator. I was employed to call Major and see if he would accept my application for the Monday morning.
Right.
When I called, he's like, yes, you can bring it in on Monday. And when I dropped it off, we didn't even actually fully interacted at that point. It was way after that we got into this mentorship mentee, but he gave me an opportunity. Despite being late, sometimes they say it's never too late to do something. It's better to try than to not try at all. And that first interaction of somebody giving me an opportunity to say, go ahead, try. And even then, it was still difficult because I didn't have anywhere to do my community service, which was a part of the scholarship opportunity. You must do a summer of service project. And he was there for me like every step of the way. He was like, you can go to the Vouch, which is a school for special needs person, and do your community service there. He found it for me, and I would travel every day from St. Thomas to Fletcher's Land in Kingston and do my community service. And any little advice that I would need, he would always be there for me and guiding me. And I felt like this is a person, it's like a guardian angel has just perched itself on my shoulder, guiding me every step of the way. And I don't think I'll be here where I'm at if it wasn't for Major. He's just forever that person that you can go to. And I felt like this person is going to be my mentor, He's going to be my mentor, whether he likes it or not, because he's always been there guiding me without even being my mentor before. So after university, throughout my years, I would have kept in contact every now and then. And when I left University of Technology, I decided I'm going to work in my field. So I went into transport and mining. So I worked at the Ministry of Transport and Mining for almost 3 years. But in 2019, I went to San Diego and I would have met a JDF officer who would have been doing planning work within the JDF. And he was like, you can apply yourself here as well in the JDF. JDF is always looking for persons with your skill set. I was like, oh no, I'm a planning person, I'm a geo person. The army is not for me. And even though I knew Major had been in the army, it wasn't anything that I'd ever thought of because I'm more of a girly girl. I normally think that the army is for rugged people and fighting, and I am not that kind of person. So never once it crossed my mind. So having been at the Ministry of Transport and with Major as my mentor, it's always service above self, serve to lead, selfless leadership. And that is something that we pride ourselves in giving back to others. And I'm like, what better way to be able to do the same kind of work I'm doing at the Ministry of Transport and giving back to persons and doing the same thing in the JDF and giving back to my country, So I came and we had a lunch because we normally have lunches together, probably at least once a month, once I'm available, once he's available, we'll have lunch. And I was telling him about it and he's like, Ricka, I never knew you were interested in that, I didn't even mention it to you before. It's just not something that I thought because, as I said, I'm a girly girl, and here's my mentor who's been in the military for so many years and has retired and has a wealth of knowledge. So I said, I'm going to give it a try. I did my selection board. Probably the worst thing I ever did in my entire life. The worst ever thing to do, the Jamaica Defense Force Officer Selection Board. When I got home, bruises everywhere, but it was fulfilling to know that when I left, I was amongst the selected few. Like 10 persons went, only 5 came back, and 4 were female, only 1 male, and there were 5 males and 5 females. I felt so proud knowing that I am not that kind of person, but just the encouragement from him to say, go ahead, try it out. I had nothing to lose whether I got through or not, but he's always there encouraging me despite whatever it is. I could want to go sell breadfruit at the market, mango, anything. He's going to encourage me and say, go ahead, Ricka. You can do it. There's nothing that you can't do. So having sit out for approximately a year before joining into the JDF, because I was completing my master's then in integrated rural development, I joined a year later, having been the first cohort of the illustrious initial officer training program, the first set of officers to be trained in Jamaica, and commissioning only recently at His Royal Highness's commissioning parade on the 24th of March, 2022. Wow. I am now a second lieutenant within the JDF. And since then, since 2014, it has just been Major as my mentor, guided me in whatever crazy decision that I decided to take on, crazy adventures. And I wouldn't ask for anybody else to share with, anybody else to guide me. He's just been absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. Oh my goodness, what a testimony.
Yep.
Wow. So, Major, Effiom, you must be very, very, very proud to have mentored somebody that's gone and told a story like that.
I'm speechless, but what I have to run back to was I'd never heard this from Ricka before. I know she went to the Queens, but then when she said that when her mom came home with her uniforms, she asked her mom, where was the crown? You know, I'd never heard. That is so funny. And
she thought she was going to be queen, right?
Yeah, and yes. I must tell you, Ricka is deserving of a crown.
Wow.
Because she has just kept her eyes on the prize. You know, my autobiography, she's integrally a part of it because she did the mapping on the pages, and she also gave a testimony in the chapter for mentees. So I am very proud. I am very proud of Ricka, as I am of all the other mentees that I have come across and remain in contact with.
Excellent. I absolutely love this because it adds a dimension to this project that I'm doing now to see how people can actually work together to achieve things that they don't know that they can achieve or didn't know that they can achieve just by climbing on somebody else's shoulder like yourself with our experiences. And this is what this project's all about, being role models to people, mentors, and all that sort of thing. It's fantastic. So, Effiom, if I take you back to when you first engaged as a part of the wing section, I suppose, of the JDF, is that what it is? What it was?
Yes, well, after having been selected in April of 67, I went to Newcastle for the officer cadet potential officer training, and then, you know, it is with sadness, but I'm happy that my father did in fact come to school, and I'm very happy that Mr. Bogle did say let him go, because Daddy died in a car accident. He was hit off his bicycle on the 15th of August, 1967.
That same year.
Same year.
Wow.
And then I then became the husband to my mother and the father to my older sister.
Right.
And then I was shipped off to Sandhurst in September of 67.
Wow. Right. So just can I just say one clarification? Because we have similar names in UK as in the Caribbean. I have to clarify, when you say Newcastle, for the purpose of people listening to this, so it's a Newcastle in Jamaica, right?
Yes, the Army's training depot.
Okay.
It's known as Newcastle.
Okay.
And of course, it has, as you know, in Jamaica, there are a lot of names which are British names.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
Newcastle was the station for the British soldiers who came to Jamaica. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ricka, you can back me up with the history. Newcastle was, when yellow fever hit the West Indian Regiment, that's where the soldiers were taken. Because it was a change of air. Newcastle is about 3,500 feet above sea level.
All right.
So that was very good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So then going off to Sandhurst. 1 second, please. Let me just get this out of the way.
No problem. No problem.
Yes. Go ahead. Oh yes, you're asking me. So then I went to Sandhurst, the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, in September '67.
Wow.
And then I spent 2 years there.
2 years at Sandhurst here in England.
Yes, the course was a 2-year course then, with overseas training, 2-week overseas training at the end of each of the years to Germany, the Black Forest, and
so you actually went to Germany? Sorry.
Yes.
You went to Germany as well?
Yes, and the academy had an airplane, a Cessna 172, so I was able to maintain my proficiency. And I was also maybe one of the first overseas cadets to join the yacht club.
Wow.
I decided that I was not going to, when I was actually selected for the JDF, I was asked at my review board whether I would serve in the Coast Guard. Oh. And I said to myself, I wonder if these people didn't read my application that I'm a private pilot. Yeah. So I said, no, I can't go to the Coast Guard, I can't swim. And there was laughter. So when I went to Sandhurst and discovered that there's this wish stream, I decided that I would join the yacht club to see what it was like on a boat.
All right.
And we actually went to Kristiansand in Norway and had a tall boat race back.
Wow.
From Kristiansand to Southampton. And this was in my second year. This would have been 1968.
That's quite an experience.
And what? One night I was on watch, and this 30-foot yacht, everybody is sleeping. I'm on the watch on the bridge or whatever it's called. And I am in this thing, and all I can see was this blackness around me and the sea. And I said to myself, my God. So I used to speak to my father, although he was dead. And I said, Daddy, what the hell am I doing out here? You know? And we made it back. And of course, after Sandhurst, after the 2 years, I was then, the JDF now, apparently, they weren't looking at me possibly going to the air wing. So I was sent off to the School of Infantry, Warminster, for a 3-month platoon commander's course. So I came back, with plump and with resolve. So I was in the infantry battalion, that at that time was just the 1st Battalion Jamaica Regiment. And I served for 18 months in 3 of the 4 companies before I was sent off to the air wing. At which point I was then sent to the Canadian Forces Base Portage La Prairie in Manitoba to learn to fly the helicopter. So that's when my aviation career started in the JDF. Flying helicopters. So
you said did you say Canada? Did you say you went to Canada?
Yeah, we the JDF and the Canadian Forces, there was a memorandum of understanding, and officers, pilot officers, or potential pilot officers were trained in Canada.
I think that sort of went back to World War II, where a lot of the officers were trained in Canada, from my understanding. And
I know that, I remember, I think Dudley Thompson and I think was it Michael, not Michael, it was Norman Manley. I think they were pilot officers, or I think they served in the Royal Canadian Air Force.
Yes.
But the actual training of pilots for the air wing would have started maybe about the same time as possibly when General Niche went to Portage for training. So I was maybe possibly the 15th or so pilot officer who went to Portage. But then I went to fly. I learned to fly the helicopter only. Courses were developed where, following up on my course, potential pilot officers were trained both on the helicopter, rotary wing, and on fixed wing in Portage. Of course, as you know, all of that, just like how Ricka is in the first cohort for officer training in Jamaica, we have stopped going to Portage or to England or where all the ab initio training for pilots is done in Jamaica.
Which is fantastic, isn't it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
For so many reasons. I mean,
yes.
Obviously you get the experience of traveling abroad and all that sort of thing.
Right.
But isn't always a big positive, because right now I'm looking outside and it's snowing, right?
Yeah, here you go. Would you live in your icebox? I'm sure where Ricka is, maybe she has a few East Indian mangoes in her car.
Please,
no,
you're tempting me now.
But there's a lot on the tree about probably in the end of April, there should be a lot of East Indian mangoes at home. But not right now in the car. So Major, you'll get yours. Yeah, so you'll get yours. Mommy will definitely have them put down for you.
I might FedEx some to Donald too.
Please. And let me tell you a story. We've just come back, even though it's snowing, right? We've just come back from going to the bakery where we were just buying some bread and whatever else. And this lady said, oh, I'm just waiting for this van to come with some mangoes directly from Jamaica. Would you? And I'm thinking, did you just say mangoes? And
really?
Yes.
Are you speaking about something that just happened just this morning, today?
Today, right?
Wow.
And then she said, let me phone this gentleman and see where he is. So he phoned and said, oh, David, I'll be there in 2 minutes. He turned up and I'm getting my wallet out. And I said, okay, what sort of mangoes? And he said, would you believe they stole my van last week? And I had all my stuff in it. And because they stole it last week, I had to get a new van. So I've stopped leaving the things in my van now. And because I left it at home last night, I forgot to put the mangoes in the van. So he had no mangoes with him. That was just this morning.
What a coincidence.
It's a coincidence, you know.
What a coincidence.
This is all amazing. And as Rick was saying, she was born in St. Thomas. I was born in St. Thomas. And I know, well, I suppose that there are a lot of parishes that has a lot of different fruits. But in particular, I know St. Thomas.
Renowned.
Oh, man.
Renowned for mangoes, St. Thomas.
That's fantastic. That's another story that we can develop.
Absolutely.
So it's very intriguing to see how both of you have actually engaged and got yourself into the military on a different sort of, reasons, for different reasons, which is just fantastic. So what's your experience so far, Ricka, as a part of the military?
Wow. There's not much experience thus far because I did start working on the 28th. However, by the 29th, this Tuesday, I was sent on leave. So I'm currently on leave until the 9th. So hopefully when I get back, I'll be posted to a company and have a platoon to command. So for a year, I'm now attached to the Jamaica Regiment as a platoon commander. However, I'm posted to one engineering regiment. So once I'm finished my stint in the regiment, I'll be going to engineering, which is where my degree would have posted me. So I'm quite excited because the JDF is currently doing a lot of development and developing a lot of new bases. So I'll get my hands in on those. Plus they're doing spatial systems. So I'll be able to dabble with some spatial analysis for them. But it's a place for you to grow. It's a place for you to be dynamic. I think I made the right choice, not going as a professional entry where I'll be just doing one job, but as a regular commissioned officer, I have the opportunity to do a lot of things. So maybe if something strike me, if someone lick me, I'll follow in my mentor's footstep and decide to do the air wing aptitude test and become a pilot.
Wow.
Because I have that.
Wow.
So
Hey, so as they say, sky's the limit.
Of course. But go ahead.
It's something that I can do whatever. And with a great mentor like Major Whyte,
Wow.
I don't think there's anything to limit me or stop me.
Wow.
Go ahead, Major.
Well,
Effiom, over to you, but I certainly look forward to the future.
Well, I don't know. I hope that Ricka will make it more her career, because I only spent a total of 12 years in the JDF, between Sandhurst and retiring my commission when I was 30. 29 and a half, I retired my commission in 1979.
Right.
And then went on to Air Jamaica. I flew for about 5 months with Trans Jamaican, an internal, carrier, commercial carrier, flying between Kingston, Montego Bay, Port Antonio, Ocho Rios, Negril, Mandeville.
Right.
And then I was hired by Air Jamaica in December of 79. And I spent the next 34, 35 years in the airline industry, and then with retiring my aviation career in 2013, the last 3 years of which were flying for Caribbean Airlines. So many people did not know I was in the JDF.
Oh.
They knew me as, from a rank structure, they knew me as Captain Whyte. But when I was selected to be the national coordinator, you're correct, Ricka, national coordinator for the Governor General's Program for Excellence in 2014. The Chief of Defense Staff then, I think, the Governor General consulted with him, and he said that I should revert to my military rank. So persons then knew Major Whyte, but did not associate Major Whyte with being Captain Whyte in Air Jamaica.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. So it is now known, but many people still don't know I was in the Army. They say, you don't appear to be someone who's in the military. Of course, I can be very miserable, and I'm an on-time type of person. One of my pet peeves is being on time.
Absolutely.
So of course, but the JDF taught me a lot of leadership, instilled leadership qualities, but I learned all of those things at home, I must say. Home training is the best training.
Absolutely.
And I remember the Governor General used to say, Major, you know what I really admire about you? You have home training. I think he wanted to say, but if you never have home training, you'll tell me a word or two.
and Ricka, I guess you, I don't think you said, did you say anything about your parents at all?
No, I didn't say anything about my parents, but my parents were born and bred in St. Thomas as well. So you're from St. Thomas. So my daddy is from Golden Grove. So he's the Miles. And my mom is from Fonthill. So if you know Fonthill, born and grown in Fonthill. They just met each other when they're very, very young and had us very, very young. My mom is a vendor in Kingston, so she sells downtown. She sells mangoes, breadfruit.
Wow.
I've never seen such a stronger woman in my entire life. Like, you can't even tell her, Mommy, take a day off. She's like, no, I could sell my little mangoes. And my daddy is a taxi driver. And everybody knows him. I think I have like the most supportive parents in the entire world, because just like Major, it doesn't matter what I do, my parents are just always so proud. They're like, all right, that's what you want to do. Go ahead and do it. You should know best. And they're very, very supportive. So I said I wanted to go to Queens. I'm going to Queens. So, Mommy, I no longer want to be a lawyer. Okay, what do you want to be today? Or, Mommy, I want to be a geologist. Okay, go ahead. And they're so supportive. Like, whatever it is that I need. Even at my age of 27, a grown woman, my daddy is coming, do you have lunch money today? You're going to work, you have lunch money? I'm like, Daddy, I earn a salary,
but that is so fantastic, right? Because that is, a good foundation when you've got your parents behind you. You know, it's a launching pad. You know, you can do so much because it gives you confidence. I mean, I'm talking to the converted here, but you know, that's what it is, isn't it? Solid parents behind you. Fantastic.
Once you have that support, I don't think there's anything that can stop you from achieving greatness. It doesn't matter what your background is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're from or what little means you have to get there. Just that support that you'll have from your family is just that drive that you need to get there to better your family. And everything that you do is for your family, because whatever I do is for my family to ensure that they're better so that my mommy can go to Kingston. At this point, mommy just goes to Kingston because she feel like it. Or she says, you know, oh, if I stay home, I'll die. All people have to work. You know how they are. They say
it's something to do, isn't it?
Even if they don't, just something to do. And that's always what I aspire to for my parents. Like, if it is that you don't want to do anything today, you'll be fine. You'll be taken care of. And my siblings, just amazing. My sister lives in Canada, and she's just a major support for my parents. And my brother, he's becoming an engineer, so he's studying for his engineering degree currently.
Is he still in Jamaica?
And my younger brother, yes, so he's still in Jamaica. Right. And he works with Seprod. So you're from Panama, so you know that Surge Island used to be in Seaport, and they've moved to Bagwang now. So he moved with them. So he works there as a production manager for them.
Wow.
But it's just a great little family. Like, you know, you have those sibling rivalries and you fight when you're younger, but I can't ask for a better family. And to be honest, Major is like a second father. So what more do I need?
You know,
are you going to teach mommy? Are you going to get her driver's license before you go back to work?
I am trying. No. I don't know about mommy and this driver's license thing, you know. Mommy is mad.
Ricka left her car with her mother.
Oh.
And, you know, with the intention that her mother is going to learn to drive, that she can drive herself to Kingston. But I don't know how far that has reached.
Mommy can drive. But mommy is so scared of doing the test that she don't want to go. So daddy's like, don't you see? I went ahead and got your learners. You went into the learners. So what's the problem? Go and do the test. And mommy's like, maybe go today, maybe go tomorrow. Oh no.
This is also fantastic. So fantastic. Yes. Like I say, I mean, but I think you're from Kingston, did you say, Effiom?
Yes, my parents were, my mother was from St. Louis, my father was from St. Mary. He said that the place was so remote that where he came from, they used to call it Back of God.
Well, my mother is from Hanover, Lucy, and my father is from St. Thomas. And don't ask me how they met. That's another story. But I was born in Trinity-ville, Mount Vernon way, that way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I have family in Trinity-ville.
Up to Maley, yeah. And I have a sibling out there, a sister who is a judge in Kingston. And that's our only link at the moment. As siblings, we spread around in UK and the States. Yeah, but enough about me. So, you know, it's just great to share such abundance of things going forward. History as well as the future is just fantastic. So with your mentorship, Effiom, do you have do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yes.
On what you do and how long you've been doing it and that sort of thing, because it's just a fantastic testimony here right now. It's just wow.
Oh, okay. I must say that the mentorship that I've been doing has come like a natural thing over the many years. When my boys were at prep school, I was the president of the Wilmer's Preparatory School PTA. Okay. I was involved with community work. We were able to secure and get a standby generator for the Spanish Town Hospital back in about '76. The Prime Minister then Michael Manley came and commissioned it.
All right.
All of those times, there were always young people around who I was just enthused with and, giving them a couple, points here or there. And I remember that, once I went to pick up my boys at the prep school, and a little boy said, Mr. Whyte, is it true that you have a 6-month job? So I had to quickly count to 10, as Daddy would say, whenever you're going to answer, you count to 10 or 20. I wonder, what is he saying? Then I said, oh, yes, of course I have only a 6-month job, because I have to go to the doctor every 6 months. I have to go to simulate every 6 months. If I fail my medical, doctor says I'm not seeing too well. If I fail my simulator check, I can't fly. So it's a 6-month job.
Right.
So what you need to do is you need to study hard. You used to keep focused, get your degree. Don't go into flying until you at least have your first degree. And I would do this. But then where the mentorship really took off was when I went to King's House. And I was now working with, these young people, maybe a little bit older, the 18 through to 35 and over. And I found that Ricka was one of the first, mentees to be. It just evolved into me becoming her mentor. But when she called and said, her application is delayed because of circumstances beyond her control, she brings it on Monday, and I said yes. But from how she appeared, how she actually brought this situation to the fore. Just listen to her. I realized that here was someone with the potential, and I believe in second chances. So she did not meet the requirement of the timing for the Sunday. And I said, look, 24 hours is not going to hurt. And I'm so proud. So the mentorship of all of these persons, both male and female, funny enough, they're more female. I have more female mentees, although I always am in search of male. We just gave, we just presented a house, as a Rotary, we presented this house, Food for the Poor house, to this lady and her 17-year-old son. Only on Monday. Today is Thursday, yes, on Monday.
Yeah.
And this 17-year-old young man, I was so happy. I actually, when I heard his story, he has, he took 5, he got 5 CSECs out of 7. That's the Caribbean GCE.
All right, okay.
Right, he got 5 subjects. And how he told his story to me, right there, I meet him for the first time. And he is really into IT big time.
Okay.
He is, going to do a great, he's now doing, a diploma course with the intention of going on to his. And I said, look, I want to be your mentor. I didn't ask him. I just said, I will be your mentor, Matthew. And I said, look, whatever challenge you may face, here's my email address, here's my WhatsApp. Let's keep in touch. And the first thing I did after I left the ceremony, I wrote to him and his mother separately. And I said, look, it was really a pleasure meeting you, Matthew. And I want to let you know that I can see that you have this potential and you must keep your eyes on the prize. And, I sent that to him and I got a response. And he said, it was a pleasure meeting you too, Mr. Whyte, and your team. I would be elated to have you as a mentor in my life endeavors. And I'm appreciative and grateful for the house given to my mother and I and siblings, and also alongside the other donors. Thanks again for everyone's contribution to our happiness.
Wow. Fantastic.
That last sentence, thanks again for everyone's contribution to our happiness.
Wow. That's for sure.
My interest is, my only interest is to see my mentees move forward and keep going up and up and keep their eyes on the prize.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And you know, I am sitting here thinking about my life journey in comparison to yours, and especially now yours, Ricka, in the sense that you get such a testimony about being helped by someone other than your parents. I came to England as a young lad, 13, and at 18, I joined the Royal Air Force. There was an inner thing in me to be a part of the military. I didn't know what I wanted, but I just wanted to be in the military. But I had no one to turn to. I didn't know anything about the Army, the Navy, or the Air Force. I just wanted to be military.
Yes.
Right? I, at 18, which was the late 60s, 69 time, was thinking that I was one of the first Black person to join Her Majesty Royal Air Force. Can you imagine that? When there were people here in 1914 and in the Second World War as well, you know, First and Second World War, from the Caribbean and all over. And there's me at 18. So what I'm talking about here is the lack of education and the lack of somebody to guide and tell me that, you know, there's a way for you, climb on my shoulder, like what you doing there, Effiom, right? Yes. I would have loved that, right? Yes. And I learned so much later. So I joined and I got into the Royal Air Force. 36 years later, I've been traveling around the world as an aircraft engineer. Yes. I learned so much about what us as a people have done in support of Britain. Yeah. Yes. So I would, even throughout my career, you know, I would have loved to have had somebody like yourself, Effiom, who'd actually gone ahead of me, who was before me, yes, to climb on that person's shoulder and say, look, do this or think about this and whatever. So I just think this mentorship is just fantastic. Yes. And it's not just my words. Obviously, Ricka is just, well, you know, a real testimony about all that sort of thing. So I think it's fantastic. And yes, I love the link with it, with this, yes, particular initiative. Yes. Yeah, Karen.
No, go ahead. I wanted to say something, you know, regarding, you see, Ricka, she's one of my, there are two of my mentees who I really keep very, very close. Tasha Gay is in her final year at med school, and Ricka. So whenever I get things of interest and upliftment, I share with them. Right. So you see your letter, your WhatsApp message to me. I hope I'm not out of turns, but what I do, I don't say, hi, Ricka, you know, I heard from Mr. Donald Campbell, you know, and he wants me to arrange an interview. I just forward it. Ricka, knowing Ricka, she said, wow. And when she says, wow, I know what that means. So I said, Ricka, would you like to be sitting on the interview? What? So, you know, that's why I asked you. But yes, then in asking you, Donald, I had not thought about the implication of where this could go. What are the takeaways? Yes. To have a young officer, yes, who, you know, interacting with you, the moderator, with her mentor, in a space like this. Absolutely. I think it will be encouraging for also younger people too. Yes. That, look, you know, the Royal Air Force Association, all of us served directly and some served indirectly. Absolutely. And what I'm going to ask Rick to consider is for her to become a member of the 580 branch, Jamaica branch, in due course. Wow. So I'm putting that out there from now, Ricka, so you can't see it, you never hear it.
I heard it. I cannot unhear it. But it's absolutely amazing because initially before you came on, Major, Mr. Campbell and I were speaking, I was like, oh, so many are things that I'm going to just, you know, listen in and just turn off my camera, be quiet, and just listen to your interview. And he's like, oh no, you're participating. I was like, okay, sure. I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't know that this was what would have happened because all I wanted to do was fast. All I wanted to just be there to see him do very well in his interview because whatever I do, he's always there to support me. And I'm just like, well, I'm going to support him. And I just listen in and be happy. And then Mr. Campbell's like, well, they're going to be participating.
Well,
and who am I to say no?
well, the thing is, once Effiom said to me, what, who is going to introduce and everything, I looked at it holistically. And I thought to myself, wow, the first thing I look at is the younger generation, which is yourself. Because we're moving on. You guys are taking over. Yeah. And you are now going to take on whatever we have set up and left behind. So I just thought it was a fantastic introduction into all of this. Because all you're going to do now is take it forward. Hopefully you'll see it as something worthwhile to tell your colleagues about.
Definitely, because history is such a strong part of us, not just as a people, but it is integral for the JDF. You don't learn anything in the JDF without knowing the history, whether it is from World War One straight up, the JDF from the West India Regiment. It's just everything about our history that they're fascinated about, and we must know. So having this kind of a forum, this kind of a setting is only encouragement for other persons within the military to follow suit, other persons that are in my network to follow suit, to be a part of it, to tell their story. Because a lot of persons have a lot of interesting stories. They just don't have that medium to speak about it, to tell their stories.
Absolutely.
And this is one such medium to do that.
Absolutely. And I look at it and you feel so many different areas. Obviously, your age, you're female, and you're military, right? You see, those are big things in life because it's quite a wide perspective of life in general. And I know a lot of people out there, like yourself, they don't really know what they want out of life, or maybe they think they do. But when they listen to people like yourself, having done what you've done and how you've got there, it will probably help them. And I think it's just fantastic. And Effiom, your story to go from where you've got to where you came from to where you got to, it's just fantastic. And it's taking opportunities, isn't it? When opportunity comes, take it, you know? And I absolutely love all of this. And can I just lead into your book now, Eyes on the Prize, which, as you know, is on my website for the world to see. And I'm hoping that will help.
Yes. You know, I really appreciate that kind gesture. My headmaster, he's going to be, wow, tomorrow's the 1st? Wow.
Yes.
I have to remember. He's going to be 93 tomorrow.
Wow.
And he lives in Burlington in Canada. And I sent him, I shared with him your post to me. And he said, Effiom, this is remarkable. And someone else said, well, I guess you're going to be in the Times soon.
And so you should be.
There's no limit.
But I'll tell you, when I thought of doing this, you know who I am sorry I did not have on, but if you give me the opportunity, as we spoke about, maybe having a group and me presenting Eyes on the Prize,
yes,
I'd like to include Dan McPherson, my editor. He goes everywhere I go with the book, you know, keeps me straight. And I think I've had about maybe 12 presentations to date.
Wow.
And I would really love to present, if possible, to your group or to persons in your group in a setting like this on Zoom.
Yes, absolutely.
Because then I would be able to sort of share with my, I think I told you I had this PowerPoint. It is a prepared thing. It's 25 or so minutes, so possibly a 35-minute encounter to include Q&A.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I like that because I have got although we don't have a group per se, I do know quite a few people.
Yes.
Who some of them are World War II veterans who obviously have got youngsters, you know, sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters, etc., etc. So they're far-reaching, and it goes right across from St. Lucia to Barbados to Jamaica, to Canada, and all around UK. So all I have to do is then say, look, I'm setting up this forum for this particular purpose. Yeah.
Right.
And I have a World War II veteran. He's from Hanover.
Yes.
Here, and his gatekeeper, Mr. Albert Jarrett. He'll be 98 next month.
Yes.
And that 100, she's a lady in Collymore Woodstock, will be 105. Jamaican living in Barbados. Yes.
Wow.
Oldest British veteran female alive.
Yes.
She served in World War II. Yeah. And her interview twice is actually on my website.
Yes. Where's Mr. Jarrett?
Mr. Jarrett. No, Mr. Jarrett is just down a half an hour drive from where I live.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. It would be great to have him also. Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, you have my permission, sir, to set it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that all it would mean is that I suppose you wanted a mutually convenient and agreeable, beneficial day.
Absolutely.
But I would stop everything to do that, and it could be done like in this setting at 8:30 a.m. our time for 14:30 GMT.
That would be good. And I also must say that there's a gentleman who I met through the BBC who has got a Logbook Project. Now that is a fantastic project. You will see one of the interviews on my interview page with Ina Collymore and a few others talking about the logbook, where we all signed the logbook virtually together, but we've all signed it at one stage as West Indian veterans. That logbook is of a pilot, a West Indian pilot, Caribbean, who flew Spitfire in the Second World War.
Yes.
Who's now passed on, and his son decided to send his logbook around the world for veterans to sign it. 4 years ago, he started it. He's got over 100 signatures, including the 104-year-old lady, Mr. Jarrett, and many, many others. And the stories are fantastic about what these veterans, different veterans from Japan to Germany to USA, what they've done. Yeah. So I will link that gentleman also into our program. Yeah. About your book and etc. etc.
Okay.
So this is absolutely fantastic. And I'd like to say thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to any questions that you may have for me. Yeah. Before we do a final summary. So I'm going to ask ladies first.
Yes.
Have you got any questions for myself?
I think I only have one. Like, what inspired you to do this? We didn't get that. Like, what inspired you? Like, we read it, but there's something more. I feel like there's a little bit more that you're hiding that you can tell us. What inspired you to start the Forgotten Generation? It's so powerful. It's a really powerful movement.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that. What inspired me is that I have always liked writing. And I've written a lot of poems, over 60 poems, but I decided I wanted to write a book as well. And that book was written for about 5 years sitting here. And in that book, I extracted what happened to me, which is this thing here now. I was born in Jamaica. My father left me when I was 4. My mother left me when I was 7. I never saw them again until I was 13. They came to UK, as in England, and I was left in Jamaica with my godparents. The question is, what happened next, multiplied by how many thousands of people that's happened to. So I thought to myself, why don't I set up an organization to look at those people as to what's happened to their life once they were split apart like that. And the stories are amazing. And I look at African, British African, and British Caribbean people telling those stories. I look at not just the youngsters, but the stories here in the UK are amazing as to what happened to those mothers and fathers who came across here, or just people in general, thinking that they were going to come to a better place. The stories are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what inspired me to do it, because I really miss my mother. I was really the apple of my mother's eye. So for her to leave me that long, it didn't mean that I was going to bond with her again the moment I met her.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened. But what I've learned is that it doesn't happen for everyone. Some people are left and they never got a bonding against with their parents.
Right.
And so there are numerous stories going on as I interview people. So that's what, when I listen to your stories, it's so good, it's so fantastic. The grounding that you've had and the backing right up until, well, for the rest of your life, there are a lot of people out there who don't come close to that. It's amazing. So that's what inspired me to do the Forgotten Generations. Plus, we as Caribbean and Africans, etc., have served Britain for centuries in many conflicts, and we are forgotten.
Yes.
We are forgotten. So if you probe my website, you'll see a lot of historical information that you won't believe. We are fantastic. We do not tell our stories very well. We sometimes rely on other people to tell our stories. And why should they? And if they tell it, they won't tell it like we should tell it. So that's a combination of those things why I decided to start this Forgotten Generations thing. I hope that answers your question.
Fantastic. Yes, absolutely fantastic.
Amazing.
Quite impressed.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you, sir. And can I say the website is purely an educational tool?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. In fact, I find it, you know, I'm involved with this Marcus Garvey in schools. And one of the things Marcus Garvey encouraged, he was an avid reader. And he encourages us to read. We don't read, you know.
No,
we don't read. You know,
I
I shared this your post to someone, and the first thing the person said, "Who is Donald?" So I said, Donald is the coordinator, and it is his website. Could you kindly go to www.thefogottengenerations.com and please do some reading? Thank you.
Yes, and that's the other thing. I did actually realize that
everybody wants to be spoon-fed.
Yes,
and we got to get out of that as a people.
Yes,
we need to be, you know, to read.
Yes.
Stop listening to social media. Stop anybody who sends me anything. So who is this from? Who's the speaker? I don't know. Somebody sent to me and said, "Look, don't send me any of these, please. Thank you. If you cannot tell me that it's Ricka-Ann Miles who's saying this, or Donald Campbell, don't, please. Somebody else got to be you must attribute the statement being made to someone."
Yes. And the other thing that I see is that, and I totally agree, and as a part of the answer to Ricka, that I realize that people don't read, but a lot of them won't mind pressing the button and watching a recording. Yeah. And they will watch a recording, even if they're just listening to it in the background, you know, and hear stories like yours and get something from it.
Yes.
So, you know, fantastic.
I really appreciate this.
In wrapping up, what I normally tell people is exactly what happened, so we can make it a part of the recording if you like, is that within a very short space of time, I would have this recording on my YouTube channel. It will not be public until I make it public.
Right.
I will send you a link immediately I do that. That link is then up to you to watch and say, oh, I'm not happy with that, or I'm happy with the entire thing. I will send you a consent form.
Okay.
If you're happy with it, you sign the consent form. That link can then be forwarded to anybody.
Okay.
Right? Just send the link.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. All right.
Yes. Wonderful.
So, yeah. So thank you very much again. And Ricka, is absolutely fantastic to have you on board for so many reasons. And Effiom, I us meeting at the AGM was just absolute blessing. And life, it's a path of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
lovely.
Thank you so much again. It's our purpose.
Indeed.
And we never know, because you couldn't have told me that I would have met you in 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And look at the outcome of this meeting.
Absolutely fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely fantastic.
And Ricka, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
so
you
am
so
I.
much for having me.
Yes. We'll talk
Fantastic.
later. I'll speak to you otherwise.
All right then. So thank you very much indeed. Yeah. Okay.
But this was really very good, Donald. Thank you so much for this.
Well, thank you,
Excellent.
because you are the subject, and the idea of bringing Ricka in, once you mentioned it, I just saw so much.
I had when I asked you, I had no idea that this would have been the case. I thought, being a mentee, I would say, look, come and listen to what is being said. Sit down and just, maybe have your camera off and just listen and tell me what you think. But to make her part of it, it's big. It's huge, because it's now going to, encourage young people to get involved.
Absolutely.
In the forgotten generations.
Absolutely. And she'll take it forward because she's the younger generation.
Exactly.